Are we starting or we're waiting?
Hello, Dr. Emmanuel. As we wait for the participants to stream in, you may start with sharing your screen, and welcome.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's my screen shared. Yeah. Is my screen visible to anyone?
Yes, it is.
Oh, sorry. In the meantime, I guess I can mute my video just to get better. My screen is still visible, right? Just let me stop sharing. I'll come back here. Hey, team. Hello, team.
Hello, Dr. Kimwa.
Yes,
Hello, Dr. Emmanuel, I'm here.
Yeah, I'm noticing that I'm having right of admittance of participants. I don't know if that it's okay because it might cause distraction. Is it possible to share rights? So
Sure.
maybe someone can admit and then I concentrate.
Sure. Do concentrate on your presentation as I do a quick introduction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon, and good morning or good evening, depending on the time zone that you're in. My name is Tim Maina, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. And I welcome you all. And going right through, I would like to welcome our facilitator for this webinar. And our facilitator, just a bit. Our facilitator is Dr. Emmanuel, who is a professional who has obtained his Doctor of Optometry degree from the University of Benin in Nigeria. He also holds a master's degrees in health planning and management and in public health from the same institution. Additionally, he has earned a PhD in optometry from UKZN University from South Africa and a master's in global bioethics from Anohak University in Mexico. With this experience in pediatric and rehabilitative eye health, he excels in clinical practice and teaching. His research interests span clinical research, public health, and bioethics. Dr. Emmanuel participates in professional and research societies and has led child eye health projects in Kenya. Currently, he serves as a senior lecturer and a dean at Kaimosi Friends University, Kenya. Welcome, Dr. Emmanuel, and the floor is yours. Karibuni, asanteni. Welcome. and thank you.
Sorry. Asante Sana team, I really appreciate that warm welcome and intro. It's actually quite nice to break the ice with such a high-pitched elevation speech. I appreciate you. And colleagues, good afternoon, and feel welcome into this webinar section. I like to call it continuous medical and healthcare education section. And in our case, as researchers and educators, maybe we'll call it continuous professional development. So feel welcome, and it's my humble pleasure to lead this section today and walk us through a topic that I consider it trendy, and I consider it as a topic all researchers and all educators, and indeed everyone, should be talking about, because it is here with us. It has always been here with us, but right now it's a reality we are facing. That's not only artificial intelligence in itself, but technology. If we look back, way back, for those who have good recollection, early 2000, probably late 90s for some of us, Yahoo invaded our computers, and we stopped going to the post office. And then Yahoo came, then came Google. And then from Google, Facebook from nowhere came in, and this trend went on. We're seeing everything now: WhatsApp, Instagrams, Twitters, you name it. All these things have invaded our computers and our smartphones. So the question will now be, why am I talking about those things? The reason why we're talking about them is that those are all artificial intelligence. The emails you're using, everything you're using in your phone nowadays and in your computer to do the works you need to do are all artificial intelligence enabled. And what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is our new life. We need to embrace it. Many people may want to approach it with an attitude of what you don't know, you careful. Yes, that's true. Some will kick it out, but we need to embrace it as our reality today and the reality of the future we are going into. So in this presentation, it's my humble pleasure to walk you through something else that many years researchers and educators have not paid attention. Am I audible? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, I hear you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's good. So it's something that we've not really paid attention to, but we really need to pay attention because it's more of a moderator, and that speaks about ethics. When you talk about ethics, people talk to you about ethics. That's morality, if you're good or bad, and so forth. But I'm here to shock you beyond that, that it goes beyond that. Ethics is a movement that started by the middle of 20th century, starting with the atrocities that happened in the Second World War by the Nazi soldiers. And through that came the issues of developing new technology for medical breakthrough. And then we had the Helsinki Declaration. And by the 70s, reports of atrocities in the US, the Tuskegee research, where Black African Americans were subjected to inhuman syphilis research, and brought up the issue of autonomy, issue of informed consent, and all that. And that raised the committee of the US Senate to raise up, to commission a group, the team that came up with a report we call today the Belmont's report, and that founded the best grant for institutionalizing ethics and also having the what we know the autonomy, what we call the ethical principles. Now, all that are just things that have been happening behind our, just beside our nose. By the 90s, new developments in ethics came up with we having genomics and biotechnology coming. If we all remember, by the middle 90s, we've had cloning. Is it called Dolly, the Dolly ship, which was a clone. And all this happening with technology, it came up a global awareness for ethics, and ethics emerged from medical ethics into global, into bioethics. Now in the 20th century, it has become global bioethics because now it's no longer looking at ethics as medical ethics. In fact, nowadays we have business ethics, legal ethics, medical ethics, health ethics, nursing ethics, and so on and so forth. So whatever discipline you are has an ethics in that. So now it's no longer more of international or medical ethics. It's now a global ethics because now it looks at global perspective in the sense of other aspects, environment, or confidentiality and privacy issues, going forward to looking at other many issues that builds around ethics. And one of them is technology and biotechnology. In the 21st century, new innovations, new technology that are coming up has elicited a consciousness for us to say, if we are enjoying this, is it all about the enjoyment? What about the challenges? New challenges have emerged that calls for researchers and educators to come together and engage in this intellectual discourse of how we can enjoy these great innovations happening in our life with artificial intelligence without dishumanizing human being, with respect to human dignity, with respect to human autonomy, with value to human, and also protection not only of our environment, but our future environment. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to welcome you to this presentation that I titled Ethics of Artificial Intelligence. I picked on artificial intelligence, not necessarily because artificial intelligence is a limelight, but everything in technology it now involves one form of artificial intelligence or the other. We look at them as technology in our hands, but those are artificial intelligence manifesting. And the big thing about that is they are big data. We enjoy Facebook, we enjoy WhatsApp, we enjoy all sorts of social media, but these are enabled by artificial intelligence. So how, as we enjoy this, what are ethical issues that we need to be talking about? And what are their implications for us as educators and as researchers? Should we be careful, or should we kick them away, or should we fight them? And if we can't fight them because it is a reality now, what do we do to ensure a global consciousness that ensure that these are used in responsible manner? In this lecture, I don't know, maybe I'm getting a bit old or old-fashioned, but I am trying to play around here to remove this thing that is obstructing me. I think I'll just show it in somewhere there. All right, that's better. Good. Hope everybody can see my screen very well now. There's no minimizing there. Yeah, my screen is very visible.
Yes.
Colleagues, I always like to whip my students when I give them, my postgraduate students especially, when I give them online classes. This is not a one person talking and everybody listening, like it's more of a bit of interactive, even though we have limited time. So one way we ensure that we are talking to each other is we ask questions. So this is the learning outcome of this lecture that we are giving. it is our hope that by the end of this 1 hour, we'll be able to have reflect on the concept and principle of bioethics, especially as it relates to bioethics in the 21st century and the emerging technology in the 21st century, understand the basic principle of artificial intelligence and their relevance to education and research. Of course, we can't exhaust them, but we can have a small glimpse into them that will inform our understanding of what artificial intelligence is all about. Recognize the consideration of artificial intelligence for education and research purposes, and discuss how artificial intelligence can both enhance and challenge traditional approach to teaching and learning and research, and then evaluate the implication of these technologies, AI, on terms of privacy and confidentiality in education and research environment, identify key ethical frameworks, and understand the role of bias as a main player when it comes to educational and research findings and all that in the use of artificial intelligence. Now, this is an icebreaker just from a different perspective. This video is available on YouTube. You can easily search artificial intelligence and then you can watch it, but spare me your 3 minutes just to listen to this.
There has been a kind of sea change in AI over the last 5 years. Before that, had you asked seriously whether or not we should be crafting a code of ethics for artificial intelligence, as we've seen AI begin to be applied in real applications in Facebook and in self-driving cars.
Now is the time to be talking about these issues. And we are the people who will be deciding what society looks like for our children in an AI and roboticized world.
Over time, software is going to be written by software. AI is going to create the AI. So let's get a code of ethics that really prioritizes ethical considerations at the beginning of design. And that will help both the creators of the technology and then certainly the users, because there's a better sense of value alignment for the technology and the people using it.
There is no one universal set of ethical principles. So it will be already very important to try to identify the right values to be used in a particular scenario. And then once you have identified them, of course, you need to understand how to model them, how to embed them inside the AI system that you want to develop and deploy.
When it comes to a split-second decision that will potentially involve a necessary injury or death, and there are trades, what will an automatic car do? This brings to the fore this notion of ethical models in our systems, and whose ethics are they?
We create these technologies, and we need to choose how we want to use them, or otherwise we will be used by them. This idea of ethics, there's really this glorious opportunity that we have as humans right now today for deep introspection.
The awareness and the intent by creators of this technology is to not be blind, to not ignore those negative possibilities, but to understand them up front, make the world aware of them, and do what we can to mitigate their impact.
How do we represent our values in these systems such that the systems are aligned with us? They would make the same decisions we might make had we had a long time to think about it.
The power of these AI systems is going to be that they do infer a lot, that they will know us better than we know ourselves. We'll be tracked in a lot of different ways with some kind of underlying goal. Is that goal to sell us products? Is that goal to make us more educated, to make us more civil, more open-minded? It's potentially an indoctrination machine. And how that's governed, who runs that? Is that going to be strictly for commercial purposes? That's, I think, one of the key questions. This is too powerful just to sell lawn chairs to people. This changes the way you look at the world. So it would be good if it were taken that seriously, I think. How will machines know what we value if we don't know ourselves?
So the key point there, I paused that a little bit, is how do machines know what we value if we don't value ourselves? If we ourselves, we don't know what we value. And I want to pick the word, hold on that word, value, as I indulge your other 3 minutes to get you to reflect on value system with this short clip.
Dr. Emmanuel, your video is on mute. If you
Sorry?
check on the audio of your video, please.
The audio?
Yes, of your video, please.
Oh, sorry. I saw a warning on audio. I ignored. Just let me stop sharing and check back. One moment.
All right.
What could have happened? Can you hear my voice?
Perfectly well.
What could have happened to the audio now? It asked me to go to setting to adjust the audio. I'm beginning to accept I'm old-fashioned. I'm not sure what to do, but let me put it back on and see if it gets better. Can you hear?
Not yet, Dr.
Is it better?
No, we can't
Don't
hear.
worry about the voice. You don't need the voice, you just need the image.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we lost Dr. Emmanuel. He'll be joining us just in a few. Thank you for your patience.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Please, if you could share your screen again.
Yeah, sorry, I lost power.
Sorry for that.
I have just adjusted now for alternative, and it won't happen again.
No worries.
Yeah.
Carry on, please.
Thank you. Better now?
Yes, your skin is loading. Great, it's viewable.
Is viewable now?
Yep.
Great, perfect. All right, we'll move on.
Carry on, please. Thank you.
I hope we saw the end of the second video, right? Before I went off. Yeah. This was where I was. Good. Remember, we were watching that video. The idea was to understand value. What do we value? We reflect on that. Let's keep the word value in our fingertips as we go through this section. All right, now, bioethics. What is bioethics? I tried to give a brief rundown through historical overview from the middle 20th century up to the 21st century, just to tell you how ethics has evolved. But what then is bioethics? Before we go looking at that, we can define it as we want. Those are big words. But this image here is called the Trolley Dilemma, will give us a very good picture of what ethics is. Now, let's assume this is a scenario. Every one of us, we are the trolley man having that gear to control the train. Let's assume for one moment the train has lost its braking system and is on a wide, is on loose, traveling without stopping, and is going to crash. But you have the gear and you can control it. But now you can only control it to go through one of 3 tracks. Unfortunately, there are human beings on each of the 3 tracks. So you have to make a choice on which to sacrifice over the other. Let's assume on track B, you have the president of Kenya, president of Nigeria, president of Uganda, whatever big person somehow was kidnapped from the government house and was abandoned after threat on one of the tracks. Assuming on track C, you have some group of children that were kidnapped from school and threatened by the military, and they were abandoned on the track from 5 to 15 years. Now you have a group of inmates, prisoners, death row on death row, who have been abandoned here, left here. There was a prison break, and they were caught and they were left here. Now you have a choice to divert the train that is running. Split-second decision to make. Where would you go? Would you divert it at A, kill all the prisoners? Who cares? They are prisoners anyway. C, children. They are still children. They will give birth to another one. President, he's been a very bad president, refusing to leave office, whatever it is. What decision? You don't have to answer. Think about it. But while you think about it, your answer gives you a clearer picture what we talk about ethics. Now, that brings us to when we say ethics, is it morality or not? It speaks about right or wrong, but that's morality. Morality tells you this is wrong, this is right. Is that what ethics is? Maybe yes. Ethics is about morality. But no, ethics goes beyond morality. Ethics talk about morality in terms of adherence to principles. I did tell you earlier in my introductory statement that ethical institutionalizing ethics happened in the 70s, 1970s, after the Tuskegee research and the US Commission of Inquiry came up with a report, the Belmont Report. And then for the first time, we have principles. We had three, we call them the ethical principles, which speaks about autonomy, respect for individuals' ability for self-governance. It talks about beneficence, but of course it merges beneficence and non-maleficence. Nowadays we separate them. Beneficence talks about maximizing benefit, good. What is the good to people, to humanity in the act you perform as a moral actor? Non-maleficence, now it speaks about avoiding, if possible, remove, but minimize harm in your act as a moral actor. Then it speaks about justice, fairness, fair distribution, fair selection of participants, fairness in awarding of your teaching criteria, fairness in your decision, fairness, who gets what? How is there equity? If you develop artificial intelligence, who gets it? So if I can't afford an iPhone, I can enjoy the benefits of artificial intelligence, equity, and so on and so forth with equality. So it all boils down, are you thinking consequentialist? Are you a utilitarian, thinking about the consequence of an action? Or you're thinking as a Kantian, in which you focus, or as a duty-based, your action should be that ought to be universal. We call it the universal categorical imperative. It has to be fair in all situations. Or you're thinking about virtue. Now here is where morality have a bigger ground, speaking about, when you talk about virtues. But beyond this, a newer idea movement comes in which it looks at virtue in terms of personalism. Personalism is a new movement that was started by Pope John Paul II, and it seeks to advance human dignity, that in whatever action you take, the value for human dignity, the sanctity of life, whatever it is, if lives are going to be lost, then it's not worth it. And every life is equal to all life. This is not an animal farm where they say all animals are equal, but some are more equal than the other. Every life are equal, regardless of is a life in the prison yard that is at death row, or is a life at the prenatal stage of life, or it's a life at whatever stage, or even if it's a life at the highest level of American president, insofar as life is equal and must be respected and treated with inalienable value. Now, in the 21st century, I did tell you, we are faced with new challenges. Biotechnology came, artificial intelligence infiltrated our homes. We see it in our computers, we see it in our phones, we see it in everything we do. So it's just everything. So these came with new challenges that comes with genomics, human, now people can manipulate your brain and be able to read your mind and be able to predict you. Are you invading people's privacy of their thoughts? People can be able to have human, have machines, bionics. People can be able to change themselves to look extra human. Now we can be able to edit embryos and be able to get designer babies, a baby that will be tall, muscular, athletic, intelligence, like Einstein, and have it all. But the question remains, which society is it going to live? What if everybody does it and some cannot do it? We had new challenges with global health. The world became global, but now came with issue of disparity, issues of equity, issues of fairness that was emerging with global health and global challenges. Climate change came in, environmental preservation came in, emerging technology coming up, bringing different challenges from the have country to the non-have, from the have communities to the non-have. End of life care. Now new machines comes that can keep people who are dead. Now the question remains, for the first time, people are defining what is dead? When is somebody considered as dead? Right? Because you can keep, but is it fair to leave somebody on a machine? It's not an answer we're going to answer now, but it's a new challenges that emerge with new technology, with new advances. And these bring new consciousness and new questions we are asking about how do we ensure that value for human beings are preserved within this new thinking. All right, now we move forward. Let's look at artificial intelligence. I won't waste time on this because we are not IT experts. Hopefully we have some IT experts on this. But now, just a general understanding of what artificial intelligence is. Basically a field of computer science. It's all about creating machines that are able to perform tasks that human beings are ordinarily able to perform alone. They can think like human beings, act like human beings, but based on human being putting them there. So within artificial intelligence, we call machine learning, whereby algorithms are being taught, to make predictions, to act and think. Within algorithm machine learning, we have deep learning which can manage high level of data. And with deep learning, we're having things like your Facebook, your Google, you're having your apps and all that. Machines are taught how to think, how to have the human brain, and how to behave ordinarily, how humans will behave. Different types of AI could be supervised, whereby machines are taught to do certain actions. All right, the unsupervised learning in which machines are left to do their own by trial and error, their own learning. Then the reinforced learning, whereby machines make mistakes, they learn from their mistake, they make things correct, they improve on what they did. Then deep learning has to do with data, in which machines start having the minds of human beings, the brains of human beings, to be able to adapt and learn data. But keep in mind, learning data, it's human being that put it there. So the data the machine learns is the data that is as biased or unbiased as the person who is putting the ideas in that machine. Now, that's a little brief about AI. What is the world talking about AI? The best global normative document we've had is the document from UNESCO, which is a document that gives us guide on how to approach ethics of AI. Just for you to know, UNESCO is strongly in support of AI. So if UNESCO can support AI, somebody may sit one place and say, that's because the likes of Bill Gates control UNESCO. Well, you may say that, but again, the point is that it is not a bad thing, but in every good thing, there are challenges. Instead of us condemning it, that's just summarize the approach that UNESCO is taking towards it. Instead of us condemning it, let's learn it better and be able to use it in the way that is beneficial to man, not using man. Man should not be, all right? So the key 5 principles that revolve the UNESCO normative position on ethics of AI revolves around team. This is a bit distracting me. I wish somebody else could be letting participant in. All right. Promotion or advancement of human rights, respecting human rights, respecting human privacy, and respecting humans' rights for their freedom of expression, and advancing not discrimination. Artificial intelligence should not discriminate Black over white. discriminate rich over poor, discriminate half country over non-half country. It should create an equal opportunity for every human being to advance their potentiality. Transparency and explainability. How are these data pulled? Can anybody vet it? Is it transparent? What don't we know or what do we know? It should enhance individuals' understanding. We should have better understanding. It should not be in the way that is hidden. Of course, you have your right, your proprietary right, but people should know how you reached that process, right? And how decisions were made around it. It should be open and it should be involving of every have a participatory approach to win public trust. Accountability. How are the machines able to give account? If you make a decision to have a self-driving car, how is the self-driving car going to take responsibility? Who takes responsibility? If the self-driving car kills somebody, who is accountable? Will you say it's the person who developed it that killed or the machine that killed? Because the machine is becoming more autonomous and can make their independent decision. Now, are there legal framework and regulatory framework with which we can control accountability around the decisions made by machines? Inclusivity, right? It should promote social inclusivity. It should promote sustainable development. It should not elevate or enhance or advance inequalities. There should be equity, which is where justice comes into play. It should also be something that is sustainable. It doesn't come now and end. It should go and should preserve our present environment and the biosphere in itself. Now, moving forward, artificial intelligence, what is their role in education and research? No doubt, we've been talking about all this. They are very relevant. We can see them every day. We see them in ChatGPT. We see them in Chatbot. We see them in, today I was writing something. I was using QuickBot to edit my, paraphrase my sentence. Now I can write long sentence because I'm a man of many words. I put it there and they paraphrase for me. And that's fine. How can we use this in the classroom? We can have a more personalized way of working, doing research and teaching, and tailor our teaching down to individual learning. As you know very well, all students learn differently. Some are fast learners, some are not so fast learners. Some are pictorial, they see things and they take a mind picture of them. Some are audio, they hear things and they stick. But with an AI technology, we can personalize learning in our classroom according to the pace and the level of each person. And everybody learns and make better grade at the same time. It also helps efficiency because we can now automate our tasks. We can use SPSS to do in the 90s, those of us who were in the universities in the 90s, remember when you want to do things, how you used to calculate statistics. I still teach statistics the traditional way. I don't mistake about that. I teach this traditional way first before I move them to SPSS. We still, but then research was done with calculating chi-square and complex statistics, but now you put them in SPSS, you get your answer. You can manage your data. I'm collecting data right now in the field. My research assistants are there. They are putting data for me, and at the same time they are there. I am here. I finish it. I start going through the data. We're making correction. We're working. You can even see Google Books. You are working with your research team everywhere in the world. Everybody's putting their information there. Everybody can see what they're doing. It makes tasks better for all. We can have better scheduling. We can have our Google Calendar. We can have better record keeping. It's managing high level tasks. It's it gives us time to focus on high level tasks, things that require critical thinking than just the basic idea. Data analysis, I've just spoken about that. Virtual assistant, you can have a virtual assistant as you have with ChatGPT and other chatbot and other virtual chatting. They are all virtual assistants. You can have them to perform tasks for you. You can even have an electronic and AI house whereby you tell it to on the light, switch on the light, on the music, on the media, on the TV, and all that. Those are virtual assistants. It makes life in the classroom. This can also happen for us. We have what we now call smart classrooms, predictive analytics. So you can be able to get data that will help you analyze your student and class them among those that are weak and those that are strong, and be able to tailor your teaching style to them. So artificial AI is quite, is in here with us, and helping us live a better life as educators and researchers. Let me just leave this breakdown of these things I'm talking about, but go more into the ethical issues around AI. Generally, the key issue around AI is issue of bias. Now, remember, AI are a bunch of data. They are just algorithms. They are just codes. Those who are IT here know more about this. And then if you remember the video before long, AIs will be creating AIs. And I was just laughing the first time I saw that, because this morning, for instance, my wife told me that she's trying to design a new e-commerce website, and she just tell her virtual assistant, do this, design a code for this and this, design a code. So a code platform is designing a code. So that's AI, managing AI. So we are here already, but the point is AI, as the bias of AI are as good as the biases of the person who put the data there. So if you have the human person that is biased over something, maybe gender bias, racial bias, societal bias, or whatever form of biases, that is what AI is going to give you. If you want to try this and get a better grasp of this, put in your phone, for instance, in your ChatGPT, right? ChatGPT is LGBT, a good way of life. ChatGPT will tell you, I am programmed not to discriminate among anybody, because the person who put it there has told him not to say anything. If you ask him, what are the advantages of LGBT? It will give you a long list of advantages of LGBT. He's programmed to talk positive about LGBT. Well, I'm not taking a position on LGBT. I'm not making a point. But what I always say about LGBT when I give my lecture is that, what if everybody decide to be male, or yes, everybody choose to be gay, like all the male will be male, all the female will be female. How are we respecting future generation? Because definitely we wouldn't have children. Even the one we adopt, nobody will have children for us to adopt. So what happens to the future generation? So that is a question I throw. I don't make an opinion about LGBT, but then that's biases we're talking about. Weaponized autonomous weapon. Now we are sending, there was a time we heard Israel can develop a bio machine that can follow a human being all around the world until it gets them and kill the human being, target for that human being, because the genome is made with that particular human being, whatever it is. But now, machines are becoming more autonomous and are becoming a real weapon to the safety of human beings. So what are the morality of machines making life and death decisions? And in case of hacking or malformation, unintended consequences, or great civilian casualties, who take responsibility? How are these managed to ensure that the consequences or unintended consequences are not reached? What about privacy and surveillance? The data, remember that AI involves tons and tons of data. How are privacy of people? Recent situations that I could just give you off the finger is Google collaborating with NHS to conduct a software that is able to make prediction for kidney diseases. A good thing in it, but the large data that NHS of UK got, people were not consulted, consent were not given. So how do you manage issues of people's privacy and people's convenience when you're dealing with very large data? How about when machines start taking over our lives? What happens to employment? How are we preparing the people to avoid a social disaster whereby people becomes unemployed? How are we retraining and giving people new capacity beyond what AI will be doing when people are left out of job? The poverty consequences, how are these going to be managed, right? Transparency and accountability, and I also talked about it. So in terms of transparency, how are these data generated? Who has access to it? What if it gets into the hands of the wrong person? But what if machines make decisions? Who take accountability? Are machines able to go to jail for decisions they make? Those are questions we need to be answering or reflecting about as bioethicists. And these are summarized here, issues of biases. If you put a bias, type in your machine and it tells you that women are weaker gender, Machines, whatever you talk, it will behave in that mentality. Google it on your tab, whatever, it will present women as a weaker gender, because that is the mentality that is programmed. Like I said, the machine is as unbiased as the biases of the programmer. Now, information, privacy of information, equity of access, machine making decisions. How does a machine know if it's carrying a human being inside it, and it meets a place, there's a child, there's an old woman? How does it make a mistake, a decision of value? Is the small child more valuable than the older woman? What about if it tries to save them and kills those? Are the ones inside the car more valuable? And machines make decisions of life and death and decisions of value. Having self-driving car is very good, but then the decisions they make, who takes responsibilities of these decisions? Artificial intelligence, these are dilemmas that we face. Some of the dilemmas we've been talking about them. Dilemmas in self-driving car making decisions. Machines are becoming more autonomous by the day. When they become gain full autonomy, who takes responsibility? What is the transparency of the decision made? Will machines become weapons or a risk to our own lives? What about automated decisions? How does that decision make the conclusions that are beneficial to human, that respect human dignity? Are machines going to be, when they are used as weapons of war, when it gets into how does it decide who are military and who are civilians and know how to make decisions of case? What about issues of employment? We've talked about this and so on. These are dilemmas, ethical dilemmas that are revolving around artificial intelligence, especially as they become more autonomous things. How do we deal with this? Should we start talking about it? Then we say, yes, it is high time we talk about this. Now, moving forward, we'll talk about the implication of AI in educational teaching and learning. And these we have touched a little bit because it enhances personalized learning, adaptive assessment that assesses people based on their level of knowledge. It's like saying assessing a fish because of its inability to climb a tree. When you judge a child's intelligence by virtue of him not being able to score an A or being an A, well, he is an excellent basketballer or he's an excellent debater. How are we able to know where the strength of this student is? With machines, we are able to make these decisions and be able to tailor people to the skills where they have strength. Now, intelligent tutoring, we are having smart classrooms nowadays, whereby I can have a professor I am currently doing my postdoctoral study. My supervisor is in Canada. I've never met her, but we are working together. In fact, we are presently moving right now, conducting a proposal development for a longitudinal study that will take us from 0 age up to 18 age. We're going to follow children on a particular interest that we are pursuing. I have never met this woman. In fact, we are planning to meet in Italy in October. That will be the first time we'll meet in over 18 months. That's what artificial intelligence is doing for teaching and learning. How can we enhance on this? We can even use machine to set questions, even mark questions, especially multiple choice questions and short assessment questions. AI can make us even tailor language. You can talk in different language and tailor language to. By the way, I listened to a lesson in a recent concluded conference last week, and the person was talking about linguistics. How are we teaching people in English and expect them to learn like the Englishman? Why don't we teach them in Kiswahili, in Kikuyu, in Luya, in Igbo, in Yoruba? Why don't we teach mathematics? In artificial intelligence will take us to be able to tailor your mathematics in your respective languages. These are great achievements for us. So task automation, personalized learning, universal access, smart content creation and smart classroom, educating the instructor is a teacher to a teacher, and so forth, and so on and so forth. These are huge positive implications of AI in teaching and learning. The ethical issues we've discussed before are still what is manifesting here, still in the issue of ethical issue to educators. The key thing is privacy. Now we're talking about open science, whereby everybody can have access to science. It is good because now those of us in the developing country with limited income, we can have access to high data, high resources, right? With, with open science. But now the question becomes privacy. How do we ensure privacy? Beyond that, the student we are teaching, compromising student privacy by exploitation of their face recognition. Because remember, when you have to get be able to tailor knowledge down to the student or personalize it, they need to do things like facial recognition. And for you, those of us who are using iPhone, I think it's iPhone 10 and above, I'm not so sure, or 8 and above, that does, it should be 10 and above, that does facial recognition. Don't just think that your face is there. Your face, there's a data, there are codes about your face that the machine takes to do facial recognition. It is stored in iCloud somewhere, study. So somebody has information about you somewhere. How are privacy of our personal integrity respected? What about issues of biases and discrimination? Remember, biases is as good as who put it there. Will machines bias over gender or race in issues of decision making about the student we teach? What about surveillance, autonomy, right? Will it jeopardize the rights of self-actualization and self-governance of the students? Fairness, privacy, and so on and so forth are issues we need to be talking about in AI use. As much as they are very useful, there are salient issues that we need to be considering when dealing with artificial intelligence. Now, while we are thinking about that, we can now talk about its implication to research. Okay, it's just about what we've talked about before, but just making more emphasis on data management. It can analyze large data with high precision, with speed, and even complex analysis. It can perform them. It can help in more innovative research and breakthrough studies, and it keeps getting better. But again, the issue of biases are also of worthy of consideration. But specifically, in terms of the ethical issues around it, issues of data management and data governance, issues of confidentiality of people's personal information, issues of how do you control biases, gender, racial, social biases, how do you control them? Because these are things that needs to be addressed for people to have that public trust over the use of artificial intelligence. Where you are using your AI, your ChatGPT, information, it is generating more information because it is learning by mistake and correction and improving itself. And it's only doing that because it's storing data somewhere so that it can be reprogrammed to improve. Next time it comes, then they get a newer version and a newer version that keeps getting better based on the information you are putting there and the kind of questions you are asking. Transparency, relevance, privacy of our personal integrity are all issues that are related to data and personhood that comes with the use of AI for researchers. How about regulation? Who regulates this? Are there framework? Of course, we already have UNESCO Global Normative Framework. What about nations? How many nations have regulatory and legal framework for managing AI-related technologies and so forth? This is stressing. Okay. What about accuracy of decision? Are we really sure of its precision that we'll talk about? Are we able to even trust decision to make serious policy decisions, advocacy decisions? Are we able to accept that? How is it acceptable within our local structures, within our culture? How does it respect our cultural value? Does it value what we value? Do we even know the extent of values to trust on this? And again, how are we able to get accountability for actions taken by machines? We'll talk about cost. Who can afford it? I bet in this class now, less than 1/3 of us will have access to an iPhone or iPad or MacBook or another. Those are high-tech machines, but who can afford it? How do we maintain equity? ChatGPT, for you to get the pro version, you pay $20 per month. How many people have access to that? How many people can afford it? These are big data. People, is it more of business or indeed promoting research? Availability. Will it be available to my grandmother in the village? What about equity? Balance between the West and Africa and the Chinese. How are we balancing equity? How will we promote discrimination, communications, and choices made by this? These are issues, ethical issues of very, very critical importance that we need to be talking about when using artificial intelligence. To the researchers, you need to be aware of these biases. Know that what you are getting when you sit down in front of your computer and type on ChatGPT, let not GPT control you, control GPT, right? Be aware of the potential biases and be aware of how you construct your words and your prompt when using ChatGPT. When using ChatGPT, be aware of the potential of breach of privacy, of people's personal privacy, their mental privacy, their cognitive privacy, their physical presence, their social presence, the information about them. What if it gets into the wrong hands? Be aware of the potential of misuse for other interests that you don't have control over. What about autonomy? Would we, when machines begin to take autonomy, who takes responsibility for wrong decision? Be aware of this. Also, be aware that there's a need for transparency. The system should be less opaque. People should be able to make decisions on, agree or critique how this information are made and create better grounds for decision making, not leaving all this decision in the hands of machines. We should be able to challenge these results that are given to us by machines. And I can tell you recently, I put in and told ChatGPT to give me some references on an article. It generated very sweet results, but I put them on Google, put them on Google Scholar, put them on Hinari, put them on PubMed. They never came out. So I'm wondering, where did ChatGPT get these well-crafted references that are not even anywhere? Because mine was to get them, download them, and read them, to be able to agree with what it's telling me. But I didn't see them. Does it invade human dignity? Right? Does it humanize human? Is it a potential threat for human dignity, especially when it comes to issue of employment? Are machines going to be taken? I'm using 3 research assistants in the field right now. Normally, I would have needed like 10 research assistants. Somebody will say, yes, that is a good thing, cost saving, but somebody would have made money, all right? But somebody had just lost a job. So what does it leave human being when machines are taking over the duties of human beings? Balancing the dilemma between innovation and responsible and ethical use, we should be able to know the advantages, the implication, positive implication of the machines and the innovations with AI, be able to consider responsible and ethical use of the same machines. But then, are there opportunities for AI in the 21st century? I say yes, a big yes. AI offers a range of opportunities for educators and researchers to work upon. We'll talk about ChatGPT. Don't condemn ChatGPT. Learn, understand. By the way, I was just told this very recently, that there are companies that employ you by virtue of you knowing how to use ChatGPT. I never knew it is now. You're no longer going to be asked about your CV in terms of your A scoring or what. If you have a good advantage of how to use ChatGPT, even if you how to use Facebook, how to use Instagram for marketing, it becomes an advantage, a skill you need to learn. When we were in school, learning how to on a mouse, move a mouse on a computer and boot up a computer was a skill that we need to get as added advantage to our degree. Now, knowing how to use Facebook, Instagram, ChatGPT is an added advantage for you to get a high-stake paying employment. All right, so we need to know these things and be able to take advantage of this. So educators and research, for educators and researchers to work more efficiently and effectively, improve outcome, promote access and equity in education and research, and be able to give us time to focus in critical thinking. But as we go, AI are becoming more enabled to do critical thinking. Go to ChatGPT, it has from 1 up to now, it has, if you have the pro version, it gives you 3 and 4. 3 is very fast, but not deep thinking. 4 is critical thinking, gives you deep knowledge, but very slow. Of course, if you think too much, you are going to be very small. Makes sense, right? So it's now advancing in critical thinking, creating ground for better communication. There's this I saw, they call it Grammarly. Grammarly can now help you communicate more, instead of you having a high pitch or high tone or a disrespectful tone, Grammarly can be able to communicate with you and give you better ground or better communication that will win you grants and opportunities. Collaboration. I am currently working with a PhD student I'm supervising, and I just download, because it's no student will always say you that material, that topic doesn't exist, there's no material on it. I download material on my Zotero and I give him access, we form a group, and he's able to get to my Zotero, and we're working, collaborating. And if I'm in a research network, we can download materials there and we collaborate Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi from all parts of the world. It creates better grounds for collaboration in every sense of it and improves creativity. It is a ground for creativity, not for using. I know recently a student who was caught using ChatGPT in classroom. Those are one of the negative things we expect, but we can only be able to see it. Or you give your student tasks, they use download ChatGPT. You should be able to put that thing back on ChatGPT. I tell them to submit it to me in soft copy so I can put it back in ChatGPT to see if it is ChatGPT that generated. I tell them, go back and do it and bring it to your local corner. So it should enhance creativity rather than enhance fraud. Challenges. Are there challenges? Of course. One of them is that AI, data, deep learning, machine learning, or not, these are heavy data consuming resources. So computers are going to get higher. When we started with computer, we were using, I think the first time I used a computer, we were talking about bytes when we were using flash. That disk, floppy disk, it was called floppy disk. Then if you had a floppy disk, I know some people here who can relate to what I'm talking about will laugh. Those days in the 90s, we put in our floppy disk inside a computer, and your floppy disk will have like 200 KB, or was it 500 KB or whatever, and you say you have. If you have 1 gigabyte, 1 megabyte, you have a very big. Now, who's talking about megabyte? They're talking about terabytes now. And I am sure it has even gone beyond terabytes. My machine I'm using here is 500 gigabyte and it's already full. Now they're not talking about HDD again, they're talking about SSD, whereby we have to, if you go to a MacBook now, if you use high images, you get a 4 terabytes and then have with SSD to be faster with other. So they are demanding more. How far would we go with this? Remember, as they are demanding more space, the more they become expensive. Is there equity in access to this very high, expensive, and demanding computer? Many people, we recently saw the Google guy in charge of artificial intelligence. I was heard he retired because he was seeing machines become, we may not be able to control them, or however the story went. How long are we going to continue with this? Are we going to reach a stage that we cannot be able to control them anymore? What about trust, right? We need to win people's trust. Public trust is very important, and that involves respect for humanity, respect, value for our culture, carrying people along, getting all people at all levels, at all stakeholders to get involved and start having these discussions so that they are involved from the conception of the idea to implementation of the same. Of course, so that you can win their trust that this thing is something we can accept. Knowledge. Who has the knowledge? Is there equity in the knowledge that is gotten there? What about our jobs? We've talked about this a lot. What is going to happen when machine takes over our job? What about privacy of our thoughts, of our information, of our personal integrity? Who is going to manage this? Data, big data, they are growing. Facebook was recent, we can remember the recent icon of Facebook, whereby it was performing data research on emotion online on Facebook, people using Facebook. If it's a public, you were invading people without getting consent with them. Who maintains consent and all? These are challenges that we need to, among so many other, we need to be talking about in the 21st century as we embrace the AI into our living rooms. or as we welcome them into our living room. I'm going to finish, but this video, I have given you enough video, so I'm going to skip this video. If you're going to get this and you have a time to watch it, but it's another something that gives you ground to reflect on why we are trying to complicate life. Life in itself is simple enough. Why do we act in a manner that tend to complicate it? On that ground, I conclude with saying that ethics of AI with regards to education and research poses critical questions that demand our attention more than ever. So as we increasingly harness the transformative power of AI in our classroom and laboratories, we must not neglect our responsibility. So it talks about responsibility of use, and be sure on who has access to the information that we are getting out of this. We are the custodian of technology that can be a powerful tool for our good, but also is a potential source of unintended consequences if used in an irresponsible manner or if it gets into an irresponsible person's hand. For instance, why would a student take ChatGPT on phone to classrooms? That is irresponsible use of ChatGPT. As educators, and again, there's a talk of equity. So if I have access to ChatGPT and I'm in a seminar section and I'm able to have ChatGPT helping me, how do I fairly, equally compete on a fair ground with others who are not able to have access to ChatGPT? So just to say, thought we need to reflect. But in all, as educators and researchers, we are uniquely positioned to shape the ethical framework of artificial intelligence. This is to ensure that in our act as moral actors in the use of artificial intelligence, we promote, our action must promote fairness. And of course, equity, must promote transparency, must promote privacy and confidentiality of people's data. And above all, must respect human or have respect for human dignity and value for the sanctity of life. On that note, I can say thank you for your time in listening to me talk like a parrot, and hope that I've been able to, draw your attention in the potential challenges that we face as we embrace the new world that is a reality with us, the world of AI, with regards to the ethical and unintended consequences that lies with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emmanuel. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we get into that section whereby we will get into the question and answers in the plenary. And thank you so much, Dr. Emmanuel, for your presentation. And it's my hope that everyone has gleaned off something of this webinar. And this is the time now to give you some feedback. And right away, I'll start with the questions that you've already got. We've got a few here. Austin Muswere asked quite earlier on, where can we have a full training course on AI and digital policy? Can AIDA Africa provide a comprehensive training of AI? I don't know whether Dr. Emmanuel may answer this. Mostly touching on the full course on AI, whether there's something like that in the pipeline.
Okay, the focus of this presentation is not about AI in itself, because AI is an IT. We are looking at it from the perspective of the ethics. Yes, we can train in ethics. We can organize a workshop to train people, because what is key is understanding the principle of ethics. When you understand the principle, the goal is to keep you conscious and be aware of the potential unintended harm that will come with the use of this. Like I mentioned, for instance, issues of bias, issues of equity, fairness, issues of misuse, irresponsible use of it. When you are conscious of this, the goal is to ensure that we enjoy these technologies, this innovation in a very responsible manner. But of course, AI is a very big word. When you say AI training, what are you training on? You're training on the use of ChatGPT or Quillbot or Chatbot, or you're training on the use of programming or Pythons and so languages. So these are IT world. Those in IT can organize small workshops on data science, on innovative AI science or machine learning. But what our role here is, as we advance in this, learn them, use them, and so forth, let's be aware of the potential consequences when they get into the wrong hands, particularly consequences with regards to value to human dignity. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel. The other question was from Virginia. She asked whether if you would shed more light on ChatGPT at the end of the lecture. I don't know whether you've exhausted this or you would like to a little bit on this.
Yes, I can spend a minute or two to talk more of ChatGPT. As we all know, ChatGPT is one of the chat platforms that uses algorithms to predict, information and give you information in terms of what you seek to, based on the data that has been programmed into or it has been trained on. Now, whether you're using ChatGPT or you're using Chatbot or you're using any of the machine deep learning tools, the most important thing is that you're asking in questions and it's giving you answers. But you can do anything there. You can even generate information to do your articles, to do your term papers, to do your research. But what I say to people is that ChatGPT should not take away critical thinking, right? As ChatGPT are becoming more autonomous and becoming more ability to do critical thinking, it is you that controls it. You put your prompts there, it gives you ideas. It is your responsibility to take those references, look them up and read them, because you will be doing plagiarism if you just copy and paste without reading them and even let your language, let yourself be in it. All right, ChatGPT is good. I have it on my computer. I use it to get ideas to, we interact. But eventually, what I get is my work. If you put it back on ChatGPT, it will tell you I didn't do this work. But if many people give them tasks, put it on GPT, ChatGPT will say, yes, I wrote this. Or it will tell you even another machine learning artificial intelligence machine did it. It tells you when it was done and all that. But when you put yourself in it and be able to, generate what you can take ownership for, then that is responsible use, all right? It is to make work easy for us. And again, I don't condemn ChatGPT, because if you have to condemn ChatGPT, start condemning Google. Start condemning, is it called Wikipedia or something like that? Because you go to Google, you put information, it brings you information. Some people with wrong moral copies it and paste it there. When we have Turn It In is able to tell us that this thing is on Google, it's on internet or this. So it was picking plagiarism. Hey, let me tell you now, Turn It In has even advanced. It can now tell if the information you are submitting is gotten out of what is it called, ChatGPT or any of the trained machines, all right? And when that happens, if you submit such an article, any responsible that is not a, what is it called, a fake journal, they will automatically reject it and even blacklist you. So you should be able to use this to help you make your work easier, but not take over your work as the person who has the brain. It is you who has the brain, not the machine. You are just as you have your secretary, your office assistant to help you do some things so that you can focus on more higher level tasks. That's what you should do using this, not it doing that high level task for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel. We have one more question for you. Yunusa Musa Yabon is asking, what are the future consequences in the use of AI among our young generation? this question? Yeah, if you may.
Actually, if you ask me that question, the answer is very obvious in that it is here with us. There's no future again. AI is here. The future is now. Sounds funny, but hello, that is it. The future is now. Now, talking about consequences on our children. Well, that is a multifaceted question that you may look from different ways. I'm currently conducting a study on exposing children as early as before the age of 5, on using screen time. Don't remember now what our young mothers doing now. They are busy, they go to work, they run classes, they do this. Now, what to avoid the child, they leave them with their phone. So children play with their phone just to cut off noise. So exposing children at this early age to this, does it have consequences? So of course, there are health consequences on these things, and it's well available in literature. There are also high risks of the fact that AI may start taking over, just as it will take over our jobs. It will start taking over our brain. All right, children, would they be able to do tasks? Now, it is our responsibility to start teaching them. While you have ChatGPT, all right, in front of you, it's as good as your teacher gives you a task. You go download it from ChatGPT and you submit it. You've done the wrong thing. You should put in the prompt of what is, and whatever it gives you, bring it down. Then you take guys here and go back and read books. We should not encourage. In fact, the problem starts with we encouraging our children from going to the library, registering them with library. I don't know whether they see exist, but I know when I went to school those days, we used to go to the library, we get registered and we take books, rent them and go home. I don't know. They say they are not e-library, you can, but then yes, they have the Amazon library. You can rent books for them to read. Right? So as you can do that, you can encourage them that when they download that, they go and cross-check. Tell them that it is might be right, but there are chances that it will be wrong. For you to be right, you go back and cross-check with other sources. Don't rely on ChatGPT. So I would say the consequences are for good and bad. It will help them, have access to a large body of data, a large body of material. It will make them work smarter, yes. But of course, it should not take over their position as human who are taking charge of the human factor, the person. There's a slide I skipped the other time. There is always a human person, a level. You have the artificial intelligence, then you have the deep learning, you have the machine learning. There's a human factor component on it that you must always put it. Human being puts the data. Human being downloads the data. Human beings should also be able to guide the ChatGPT on what it should think and what it should do. And that also includes whatever you get, you go down and cross-check, fact-check with what it's doing. I don't see it as taking away what we should do as researchers or educators or what our children should do in reading. Rather, it's making them have access to reading material and reading resources on the palm of their phones or tablets or computers. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel. One more question from Dr. Salihu. Dr. Salihu would like you to clarify what the train driver in your second slide will do and which road he will take, A, B, or C.
That is what, there is no ethicist that will answer that for you. You know the beauty about ethics, there is no right or wrong. Of course, you make a right decision, you make a wrong decision. In ethics, what we do is we try to bench our decision upon an ethical principle. Now, the way to answer that question without just giving you a direct answer, because it is you who will, is, are you a utilitarian? A utilitarian will say, okay, fine. If I kill the child, well, those are not my words. I'm just saying this. Well, children are young. We can have more children. They have not really been so much in the society. So you can kill them, but you see that president, you can't kill them because there will be disaster in the country. But another utilitarian will say, no, but those prisoners, you see, they are just prisoners, they are a waste. You can just waste them. But another person say, but you see, there are more people there. If you kill them, you would have killed more human beings. But the consequentialists will say, what about if you kill that child? What if that child has a cure to what is it called now? Ebola, what is this new disease? COVID, HIV, cancer. We never know, all right? Because we never know the consequences of our action, we cannot make decisions based on the presence we see. But then another idealist, a Kantian, will come and tell you, what if you make that decision now? Would that decision be right in every situation? Would it be the decision that every other person, for instance, you can say, kill, will it be acceptable in all consequences that killing is right? If you say steal, somebody who stole will say stealing is fun. But what if I steal from you that have stolen? I saw somebody read is a joke. Somebody is crying that he went to rob a bank. As it was coming, another robber robbed him, and he's crying that he was robbed, but he has robbed the bank. So, if it's always right, why is he crying? So the essence of that image is to make you think, because it's against a principle. And I bring the utilitarian principle down, upon which the principle, or the ethical principles of autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice are based on. The question is, if you do take an action, does it respect the person's right to self-governance? Do everybody have autonomy? Are everybody able to express their autonomy? Those are critical. In ethics, we ask questions, but we leave you with principles that inform. That is why when you have an ethical committee in your institution, wherever you are, you don't just make a decision on around ethical dilemma based on emotion. It's now looking at weighing the different principles, put the principles on a scale and say which one will trump. If there is beneficence, will respect for autonomy trump beneficence? If there is a risk of life or disrespect to human dignity in terms of discrimination, will it trump the right for autonomy? So you bench this, and the ethical principle that takes greater strength, in value, will trump the others. That will inform your decision. The essence of that image is not to tell you, make a decision to choose this. Of course, it's not that. The essence is to make you think. If you are in an ethical dilemma, what will you make? So the answer is, it is dependent on the ethical principle that at that particular point in time should trump. In an American situation, the ethics of autonomy should make the informed decision. In an African setting, the ethics of communitarianism will take a greater value. But these vary in different settings. And I don't want to drag you too much into that, but just know that it's just all about making you think. When you have complex setting that creates an ethical dilemma, the primary role focus there should be what will respect dignity for human value, or value for human dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel. And
I have an ethicist as a participant. I could invite her to probably share a light on that question. I can see Sarah Karanja. Sarah Karanja was my classmate and teammate in our work when we were taking study in Anahuac in bioethics. Sarah, what do you think about the trolley dilemma? Sarah? Probably not able to speak, but that's okay. That's what, just try to recognize her presence. All right, thank you, Tim. You can please go on.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel. Was just trying to unmute Sarah. I couldn't get hold of that, but no worries. Thank you so much for your great presentation, and also for your answering. She said that she's not the one. the Sarah you're talking about says she's not the one.
Hello, team.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
Sarah
Sarah.
Karanja. She's the one.
Hi, everyone. Dr.
Sarah.
Emmanuel, you did a very great presentation, and I think I've sent you a message in regard to that. So today I'm just a listener, and you've done a good job. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah. Pleasure. Sarah was my classmate, and we fought the ethical dilemmas together. Thank you for your presence.
That's great, Dr. Emmanuel. And I appreciate that you did this great presentation, and it was very insightful, and we thank you for that. And also for answering all the questions the participants had. We thank you for that, and also for the good work that you're doing. Keep up the good work. Hope to meet you in future forums. At this point, I would like to thank everyone for their participation and for their patience with us for the last 1.5 hours. And at this point is the conclusion, the closing remarks. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can post your congratulations and your good words to Dr. Emmanuel for this presentation, and also to AIDA Africa for organizing this webinar. And also at the same time, I've shared 2 links. One is feedback. If you'd like to receive these training materials, there's a link which you've shared. You can fill in your details and you'll be able to get these training materials. Mostly they'll be shared on YouTube channels of AIDA Africa. And the other one is, if you're new and you've joined AIDA Africa's webinar today, and you'd like to be getting regular communication and notification on what's happening, yes, there's also a link to a form. You can fill in your details and be able to be joining to a room whereby you'll be finding all these communications. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for your participation, and thank you for your patience. Asanteni.
Asante Pia. And thank you everyone for listening to me. I can be too talky sometimes for bearing me for 1 hour or more. Thank you. And if you have any questions and you wish to have more clarity, not only about ethics in artificial intelligence, just on ethics alone, just on ethics generally, you can reach me through the AIDA family, and reach my email directly, or WhatsApp me any questions you might have, just to have great, deeper understanding and knowledge on ethics. You are most welcome. Thank you, team.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Yes, surely participants, should you want to reach out to Dr. Emmanuel, yes, you can find his email, and you can have a bilateral conversation. Asanteni, and have a great time. Till next time.
Kwahere.